guys! Remember me? I'm here today with our special guest. Tada! Plan and Anima! We're back again to tell you more information about cells. In the previous video, you have learned the structures of cells, the cell cycle, and the transport mechanisms. So today, we're going to expand your knowledge about cells.
What do the cells do inside in our body? Why our cells are important? How do they perform their functions?
The most important function of cells in the body is a process known as metabolism. Metabolism is a process wherein cells undergo various chemical reaction to produce chemical energy. In order for cells to perform metabolism, they need another chemical energy known as adenosine triphosphate, or ATP for short. ATP is the energy currency of the cell. ATP can then be converted into ADP, or adenosine diphosphate, wherein ATP loses one phosphate group.
There are two processes where ATP and ADP can be converted into one another. First is the exergonic process wherein the chemical energy loses a phosphate group and adds a water molecule. This process is also known as hydrolysis, and it is a process of converting ATP into ADP. Next is the endergonic process wherein the chemical energy loses water molecules and adds another phosphate group. This process is also known as dehydration, wherein ADP is converted back to ATP. I know that this information is a lot to process, so this is the summary. Exergonic process loses a phosphate group and adds water molecule. This process causes the molecule to energy, ATP to ADP. Endergonic process loses water and adds a phosphate group. This process causes the molecule to gain energy, ADP to ATP.
Thank you, Plant and Anima. Now that we have learned about the basic information about the metabolism performed by cell, we are going to tackle the processes of metabolism performed by our bodies. There are two main metabolitic functions that we are going to discuss in the video: photosynthesis and singular respiration.
Photosynthesis is the main metabolic function performed by the plants. Photosynthesis is a process in which plants obtain light energy from the sun to be converted into chemical energy. Photosynthesis is performed by the plant's leaves.
Do you know that photosynthesis has an apparatus? Yeah, the chloroplasts in green plants constitute the photosynthetic apparatus. Typically, the chloroplast of higher plants is discoid or ellipsoidal in shape. The chloroplast is bounded by two unit membranes and consists of lipid and protein. Internally, chloroplast is filled with a matrix known as stroma, in which grana are embedded. Each granum consists of a disc-shaped grana lamellae, placed one above the other like the stack of coins.
In addition, there are three photosynthesis pigments. They are chlorophylls. Chloroplast pigment present on the chloroplast membrane. The chloroplast pigments are so arranged that they are right angles to the source of light for maximum absorption. Chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B are two main pigments representing the chloroplast. Chloroplast A is in more abundant green plants than chlorophyll B. Carotenoid, and these are the two types: carotenes and xanthophyll. Carotenoids absorb in the blue-violet region and appears to be yellow, orange, red, or brown pigments. In carotene, B-carotene is the most important as it gives orange color to the carrot. They give colors to the flowers or fruits. They act as accessory pigments that absorb light energy and transfer it to the chlorophyll A. All pigments except chlorophyll A are known as accessory pigments. Xanthophyll are a class of oxygen-containing carotenoid pigments, responsible for color of many of the yellow, orange, and red hosts of flowers, fruits, vegetable, egg yolks, and feathers, shells, or flesh of many animal species. Phycobiolins. It absorbs maximum absorption in green parts of the spectrum. Phycocyanin absorbed in the orange part of the spectrum.
Thanks again, Anima and Plant. Let me add that the chlorophyll and carotenoids are insoluble in water and can be extracted only with organic solvent. Phycobilins are soluble in water. Carotenoid includes carotene and xanthophylls. Different pigments absorb light of different wavelengths. They show property of inflorescence.
And now, together with Anima and Plant, we will tell you how photosynthesis works. During photosynthesis, plants take in carbon dioxide and water from the air and soil. Within the plant cell, the water is oxidized, meaning it loses electrons, while the carbon dioxide is reduced, meaning it gains electrons. This transforms the water into the oxygen and the carbon dioxide into glucose. The plant then releases the oxygen back into the air and stores energy within the glucose molecules.
Inside the plant cell are small organelles called chloroplasts, which store the energy of sunlight. Within the thicoid membranes of the chloroplast is a light-absorbing pigment called chlorophyll, which is responsible for giving the plant its green color. During photosynthesis, chlorophyll absorbs energy from blue and red light waves and reflect green light waves, making the plant appear green.
While there are many steps behind the process of photosynthesis, it can be broken down into two major stages: first, light-dependent reactions, and second, light-independent reactions. The light-dependent reaction takes place within the thylakoid membrane and requires a steady stream of sunlight, hence the name light-dependent reaction. The chlorophyll absorbs energy from the light waves, which is converted into chemical energy in the form of molecules ATP and NADPH. The light-independent stage, also known as the Calvin cycle, takes place in the stroma, space between the thylakoid membranes and the chloroplast membranes, and does not require light, hence the name light-independent reaction. During this stage, energy from the ATP and NADPH molecules is used to assemble carbohydrates molecules, like glucose, from carbon dioxide.
And there's more. Not all forms of photosynthesis are created equally. However, there are different types of photosynthesis, including C3 photosynthesis and C4 photosynthesis. C3 photosynthesis is used by majority of the plants. It involves producing a 3-carbon compound called 3-phosphoglyceric acid during the Calvin cycle, which goes on to become a glucose. C4 photosynthesis, on the other hand, produces a 4-carbon intermediate compound, which is split into carbon dioxide in a 3-carbon compound during the Calvin cycle. A benefit of C4 photosynthesis is that by producing a higher level of carbon, it allows the plant to thrive in an environment without much light or water.
Thank you so much for that information, Plant and Anima. You guys are amazing. But wait, there's more. Now that Plant mentioned about the different types of photosynthesis, I will explain more to you.
Whoa, wait. How did you know that I was about to explain the three different types of photosynthesis?
I know, right? I'm shocked too.
I guess I predicted.
So, I will explain to you now, so listen carefully. Okay, I'm ready to know more about photosynthesis.
The three main types of photosynthesis are C3, C4, and CAM, also known as caracilocyan acid metabolism. This will indicate whether they can thrive in specific climates and seasons, as well as when we may expect certain plants to be more abundant.
Wow! I didn't know that there's three main types of photosynthesis.
Before that, I will tell you that Rubisco is the enzyme protein that grabs the CO2 molecules and places it in the assembly line that produces carbs. It is known as the world's most abundant protein. Rubisco makes up the majority of the protein value in the forages analysis. When we look at the quality of feed in our forages, one of the main reasons leaves are preferred over stem in high is because of this.
I am impressed with the ad-lib that you made.
Okay, the most common technique for plants to take in carbon dioxide and make carbohydrate is through C3 photosynthesis. Rubisco consumes CO2 and reduces it to carbs at the same time and in the same area in C3 photosynthesis. That is, during the day. when the stomata are open and CO2 enters the cell and water exits through the same aperture. I mean, in the same cell, chloroplast. The problem is that it loses the most water and it becomes stressful for the plant during high photosynthesis times. Another issue is that oxygen is produced during photosynthesis and when the system is working at a high pace. The oxygen inhibits rubisco and slows photosynthesis. It may sound contradictory, but the slowing lets the plant cope with the excessive light without being damaged.
You're so smart, Plan. It's amazing that you know that.
I know, right, Saiji? Anima will explain to you the C4.
Hello, Siggy. You know me, right?
Of course I know you. You are my friend.
It's good to hear that. So, let's move on to the C4 grasses, commonly known as warm season grasses, which include corn, sorghum, crab, grass, sugarcane, Bermuda grass, and foxtail. These plants have rubisco in one cell and a mechanism for drawing CO2 from another cell, which is connected via plasmodesmata, which are holes between the cells that connected the two cells together. As a result, the plant can concentrate CO2 where the rubisco is situated, preventing the oxygen inhibition induced by C3 mechanism. July inhibition is due to the fact that these plants do not receive as much sunshine as other plants. Furthermore, the specialization of the cells allows for a 40% reduction in water usage per weight of CO2 reduction. This simply means that it is 40% more water efficient on average. Species differ from one another all the time.
Wow, Anima, you're good at explaining.
Thank you, Siggy. So, for the explanation of CAM, Plan will explain it to you.
So last but not the least, there's CAM photosynthesis. The soil plants contain CAM. These plants open their stomata at night to allow CO2 in, hence reducing water loss during the hot days. During the night, CO2 is stored as malic acid in the plant follicle. When the desert sun shines, the stomata apertures close, and CO2 is taken from the malic acid, which is subsequently introduced to rubisco, resulting in the production of carbohydrates. In comparison to most C3 photosynthetic activities, CAM is even more water efficient than C4. If C4 is 40% more water efficient, CAM is 80% more efficient.
CAM photosynthetic metabolism is found in cacti, succulents, and pineapples.
So, that's the three main types of photosynthesis.
You're both impressive. Thank you for explaining the three main types of photosynthesis. Now, let's go to cellular respiration.
First, let me tell you guys what is a set of metabolic reactions and processes that takes place in the cell of organisms to convert chemical energy from oxygen molecules or nutrients into adenosine triphosphates or ATP and then release waste products. Yes, cellular respiration was a process of making ATP by breaking down nutrients.
Plant and Anima. Can you tell them more information about the singular respiration?
Sure, Siggy.
Saiji.
Are you guys ready?
I
I guess this will be a long discussion, huh? There are two types of cellular respiration. Aerobic respiration is the process of cellular respiration in the presence of oxygen. Water and carbon dioxide are the end products of this reaction along with the energy. In aerobic cellular respiration, ATP was produced by breaking glucose to make ATP. Are you guys learning about us? There's a lot of work here.
Anaerobic respiration occurs without oxygen and releases less energy but more quickly than aerobic respiration.
Cellular respiration occurs in four stages: glycolysis, preparatory reaction, the Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain.
The first stage is glycolysis, which means breaking glucose. Glycolysis' literal meaning is splitting sugar. Glykos comes from the Greek word sweet and lysis means to split. glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm outside of the mitochondria. During glycolysis, enzymes break down glucose into two molecules of pyruvate. During this process, 2 ATP are produced, and NADH is released to be used in the later step of cellular respiration. So, let's now go on to the second stage.
The second stage is the preparatory reaction. During this stage, the pyruvate of glycolysis moves into the mitochondria, where they are converted into acetyl-CoA. During this conversion process, more NADH is produced and carbon dioxide is released. For your better understanding, acetyl-CoA is a molecule that participates in many biochemical reactions in protein, carbohydrate, and lipid metabolism.
Next stage is the Krebs cycle, or also known as the citric acid cycle. It can be described as a metabolic pathway that generates energy. The remaining carbon from the initial glucose is oxidized, releasing carbon dioxide. NADH and FADH2 are also produced in addition to 2 ATP molecules. Most ATP production occurs in stage 4, the electron transport chain, or ETC. Is that right, Plan? Can you please tell me more about the electron transport chain?
Yes, that is right, Anima. The last stage is the electron transport. It is the final stage in cellular respiration. In this stage, the NADH and FADH2 from the previous stage give up electrons to the chain. Energy is released and captured as the electrons move from a higher energy to a lower energy state using a series of proteins embedded in the membranes of the mitochondria. Later, this energy will be used for the production of ATP, typically 32 to 34 per initial glucose. Oxygen is used by the ETC as a terminal electron acceptor. It then combines with hydrogen ions to produce water.
If we add up all that ATP produced from just one glucose molecule, we can see that these reactions produce a total of 36 to 38 ATP.
So that's the stages of cellular respiration. That is so cool. But I'm not good at numbers. Hearing that from you guys makes me chill.
Cellular respiration is important because it is essential to both eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells, because this biochemical energy is produced to fuel many metabolic processes such as biosynthesis, locomotion, and transportation of molecules across membranes. And more importantly, by the cellular respiration, ATO was made by breaking down nutrients. Always remember that.
Anima and Plan, before you've said that there are two types of cellular respiration, what is it called again?
It's the aerobic and anaerobic respiration.
Yeah, the aerobic and anaerobic respiration. What are they?
Aerobic respiration is the process by which oxygen-breathing creatures turn fuel, such as fats or sugars, into energy. The key organelle of aerobic respiration is the mitochondria, where the glucose molecule goes through a multi-step process, mainly glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain. At the end of this multi-step process, 36 molecules of adenosine triphosphate or ATP are generated from only one molecule of glucose. This makes aerobic respiration a very efficient process. All organisms can carry this type of respiration and some yeast.
A simplified equation of aerobic respiration is C6H12O6 plus CO2, 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus energy, where C6H12O6 is glucose, O2 is oxygen, CO2 carbon dioxide, and H2O water.
Muscle contraction, protein synthesis, cell division, active transport, growth, transmission of nerve impulse, and regulation of body temperature are some of the uses of aerobic respiration in humans. Muscle contraction, contraction and relaxation in cardiac muscle, and peristalsis are carried out through aerobic respiration. Peptide bonds are formed for protein synthesis by aerobic respiration, growth, synthesis of chromosomes, synthesis of cell membranes are all carried out by aerobic respiration. The same process also carries out transmission of nerve impulse along the axon by transporting sodium ions in and out of the membrane.
Anaerobic respiration is used in alcoholic fermentation, lactic acid fermentation, and during vigorous muscular activity. Alcoholic fermentation is carried out in plants where sugar is broken down to release energy.
Glucose ethanol plus CO2 plus energy of 2 ATP is released, an economically important process that is used in bread making and brewing of beer and wine.
Some bacteria can cause milk to turn sour and form yogurt. The bacteria feeds on sugar, which is then converted into lactic acid and energy. This energy is also equivalent to 2 ATP.
Glucose lactic acid plus energy.
During strenuous activity, breathing is not enough to provide sufficient oxygen for respiration. Muscles experience a shortage of oxygen, causing formation of lactic acid. Accumulation of lactic acid causes muscular cramps and fatigue. In turn, muscles experiences oxygen debt during periods of anaerobic respiration. Rapid breathing helps to repay debt by increasing oxygen in the muscle, thus converting lactic acid back to glucose.
Thank you guys for spending time and knowledge with me. I guess I need to go to the bathroom.
You're welcome.
Anytime, no problem.
So, I gotta go. See you again next time. Bye!
Bye!
See you.